People think that to destroy an arrogant person you have to raise your voice or make a public scene. They do not understand that true cold retribution is completely structured and executed with patience. It arrives with a polite handshake and a stack of notarized legal documents tied in red tape, waiting for a greedy signature. For over a decade, my younger brother Julian was treated as the untouchable golden child of our entire family. He never worked a hard 40-hour week in his entire life while expecting luxury on demand. Whenever he crashed an expensive sports car, our father wrote a blank check to bury the incident. Whenever Julian dropped out of another private university, my mother hosted a catered dinner to praise his free, independent spirit while I worked grueling 80-hour weeks. Building my industrial structural engineering firm from nothing. When our father passed away 2 years ago, he left Julian a substantial liquid cash inheritance that vanished in Mediterranean casinos within 4 months, leaving him broke. He left me the sole title to Blackwood Manor, an imposing 14-bedroom stone mansion built in 1922 on 5 acres of prime forested ridge. Julian was consumed by bitter jealousy and told every relative and business acquaintance that I was a manipulating thief who stole his rightful birthright. Julian wanted that grand mansion more than life itself to throw lavish galas for his fake socialite circle and project an image of inherited royalty. What he did not know, because he never read a technical document in his life, was the confidential geological and structural engineering report sitting locked inside my private office safe. The entire estate was an architectural catastrophe, slowly sliding into the earth. The heavy limestone foundation had fractured deeply because of an active subterranean aquifer flowing beneath the west wing, causing irreversible structural instability. The County Historic Preservation Commission had quietly slapped a mandatory landmark order on the estate, requiring all repairs to use hand-chiseled stone and vintage materials costing millions. If the owner failed to begin certified restoration, the City Safety Board had statutory power to levy daily fines of $5,000 directly against the personal title holder. I could have easily funded the repairs through my construction enterprise, but looking at Julian's smug sneer at family dinners, hearing him mock my work, I decided to craft a far more poetic consequence. I invited Julian to my corporate office on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, pretending I wanted to heal the family rift. Julian sat across from my desk wearing a bespoke Italian suit purchased on maxed credit cards, swirling an expensive scotch as if my corporate office was beneath his royal standards. While asking why I had summoned him, I leaned forward across the mahogany desk with a gentle expression and told him that holding on to the family manor felt like a heavy moral burden that belonged to him. Julian froze with his crystal glass suspended halfway to his mouth, as unrestrained greed flashed across his wide eyes. I told him that for his upcoming 35th birthday, I was willing to sign a complete quitclaim deed, transferring 100% ownership to him for the symbolic price of $1 single dollar, so he could take his rightful place as the head of the house. Julian leaped up from his leather chair, knocking his glass over with excitement, shouting that he always knew I would come to my senses. I casually slid the 6-page transfer contract across the desk, explaining that to prevent future tax audits he had to accept the property strictly as is with a full waiver of warranty and an assumption of all attached municipal liabilities. Under state law, Julian grabbed my gold fountain pen and signed his name with an arrogant flourish across every signature line without reading a single word of the structural disclosures attached at the back. The second the county recorder stamped the deed the following morning, I initiated the second phase of my gift. I sent my certified engineering dossier and underground water survey directly to the chief officer of the Municipal Historic Safety Board, requesting an urgent compliance verification. 2 days later, while Julian was hosting a catered garden party on the stone terrace for dozens of wealthy investors and influencers, 3 municipal inspection trucks pulled into the circular driveway, blocking every sports car. The chief building inspector marched past the catering tables and slapped a massive bright orange emergency condemnation notice directly onto the front oak doors. In full view of everyone, Julian rushed forward screaming with rage, demanding that the officers remove the humiliating banner from his private property. The inspector unrolled the legal citation and announced through a megaphone that the mansion was deemed structurally unsafe for human occupancy and that mandatory historic restoration must begin within 30 days or daily fines of $5,000 would accrue against Julian Vance personally. Julian high society friends fled the property within 20 minutes, leaving half-eaten caviar and spilled champagne on the stone steps. In the freezing rain, Julian called every master mason and structural contractor in the tri-state area only to discover that stabilizing the aquifer and rebuilding the masonry would cost $2.2 million upfront liquid capital. He had zero liquid savings, and every commercial lender rejected his mortgage applications because the land carried an active municipal hazard lien. Within 30 days, the statutory grace period expired, and the County Safety Commission began levying $5,000 every single morning directly against Julian's personal Social Security profile. The municipal court filed a sweeping tax lien, freezing his remaining private bank accounts and repossessing his leased sports scoop right off the street. His credit rating collapsed overnight into absolute ruin, leaving him unable to even qualify for a basic credit card. 6 weeks after taking the deed, Julian showed up at my corporate headquarters looking like a vagrant, in a stained, wrinkled coat with trembling hands. He bypassed my receptionist and fell to his knees directly onto my office rug, weeping hysterically while gripping the corner of my wooden desk. He begged me to take the deed back, claiming the city was destroying his life and that contractors were threatening criminal warrants against him. I took a slow, deliberate sip of black coffee and reminded him how loudly he had celebrated taking Blackwood Manor from me just 2 months prior. Julian sobbed into his sleeve, saying he would sign the house back over for $0 if I just agreed to absorb the hundreds of thousands of dollars in accumulated municipal fines. I leaned over my desk with cold stillness and informed him that my engineering firm was an enterprise of profit, not a family rehabilitation charity. I offered to purchase the land title through my private asset recovery corporation for $3,000 cash, giving him just enough to secure a rundown studio room across the industrial canal. However, the accumulated municipal fines and private contractor debts totaling $340,000 would remain permanently attached to his personal legal name, with zero assistance from me. Julian turned completely pale as the full realization of his legal entrapment crushed his mind. Realizing I had weaponized his own vanity to destroy him, Julian began screaming obscenities and lunging forward until I raised my hand quietly, shh, and signaled my armed building security to pin his arms behind his back. Left with zero alternatives and facing immediate arrest for municipal contempt, Julian signed the corporate surrender documents, surrendering the multi-acre estate to my firm for a few paper bills. He was forced into total personal bankruptcy, and now works 12-hour night shifts at a logistics shipping depot, living in a damp basement on the outskirts of town. The very next week, my engineering crews moved 20 heavy excavators and hydraulic grout pumps onto the property, permanently sealing the underground aquifer and restoring the historic stone arches. Blackwood Manor was converted into a premier private corporate retreat worth over $9 million, generating massive commercial returns for my firm every quarter. True justice is allowing greedy fools to sprint toward the shiny bait without ever checking the jaws of the trap. They spend their lives trying to steal the fruit of other people's labor, never realizing that an empire built on arrogance always collapses on the person who tries to claim what they never had the strength to build.